Department come this close to honoring a woman accused of writing things like, "Today is the anniversary of 9/11. May every year come with America burning." And are her alleged remarks symbolic of a larger anti-American sentiment in Egypt? Lisa Daftari is a Middle East journalist and a Fox News contributor. Lisa, great to see you.
See you.
So as I said, we were hours away from honoring Samira Ibrahim. What do we know about her?
Basically, she is an activist, and she's a very brave woman who brought to the attention of the world these virginity tests, violence against women in her native country. And she's against violence, but guess what? She's also against the U.S. She's also anti-Semitic, and these tweets obviously speak for themselves.
When you say virginity tests, she was part of a group of protesters in Cairo, and apparently the Egyptian military was subjecting these 7 or 8 women to these very odious tests.
Right. So, today is International Women's Day, and 2 years ago when we had the toppling of the Mubarak regime, only a month later, in March, was International Women's Day, and these women came out into Tahrir Square, and they were chased out by bats and violence. And this only, points to a larger problem of vetting out the secularists in Egyptian or Libyan or Syrian society. Look, the sentiment is a good one for the State Department to honor, to recognize the opposition in these countries, and to find not only the opposition, but women who are brave and courageous and on the front lines.
Sure. We understand why they were originally attracted to her, but you'd think that the State Department, as Victoria Nuland just said, she's an active tweeter. She has a very active following.
This is a wake-up call to the State Department and everyone else. We have to be vetting them better. We have to be looking at, great, she's anti-violence, but what else? How else is she? And points to a larger problem here. John Kerry just renewed our $250 million foreign aid pledge to the Egyptians and said to Morsi, we'll even give you more. But why are we just writing these checks for them to hate us? They can hate us for free, right? And that's the bottom line here.
Excellent point. Let me just read a couple of other of the tweets that should have aroused suspicion earlier than today. She tweeted on July 18th, so just 8 months ago, an explosion on a bus carrying Israelis in Burgas Airport in Bulgaria on the Black Sea. Today is a very sweet day with a lot of very sweet news.
What a lovely sentiment. Right?
That's right. But is she indicative? Is she an anomaly in Egypt, or is she indicative of some sort of sentiment on the street that we're not aware of?
Right. So, unfortunately, based on what we've seen, based on what's coming out of Egypt, is that she's not the only one. Right, so it's very difficult to find those who are, anti-Morsi, but also are pro-U.S. or are, pro-West. This is the propaganda that has been basically growing in the country, and they resent us for many reasons, for the involvement of the U.S. in toppling Mubarak and taking too long to topple Mubarak. There's so many mixed sentiments here, but again, it just points to the importance of vetting out the secularists and finding them, and that's where our money and attention should be. We should be engaged with the new Egyptian government, but we should be engaging them in the right way, and this is not only economic contingency, it should be political.
But what does that mean? When we find people who are pro-Western or seem friendly to the U.S., what should we be doing?
We should be supporting those elements within Egyptian society. Not only, the analogy is you don't just give your child the allowance money and let them do whatever they want with it. You give them direction and guidance, and we're just writing out the checks to Egypt. We're just giving them military aid, but we have to be directing what's going on the ground as well.
There was a feeling, of course, that when there were protests in Tahrir Square, that it meant that people would be leaning in the Western way, leaning towards America. That has not been proven to be true.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Lisa Daftari, great to see you. Thanks so much for the insight.